Hey guys, Dale here from Lyne Components. Today I'm going to show you how to service one of our Contour V2 dropper posts. Let's have a look at some of the tools you'll need. The Contour external service kit, an Allen key multi-tool, a long screwdriver, isopropyl alcohol, some paper roller towel, a pair of tweezers, an 8mm socket or spanner, a shifting spanner, a pair of side cutter pliers, a vernier caliper. Start off by removing the plastic cap off the side of the dropper post. Tug down on the outer cable and disconnect it from the dropper post. Use your multi-tool to loosen the seat post clamp and remove the dropper post. You'll notice I've marked the seat post height. If the lower tube is dirty, give it a wipe with your paper towel. Use your shifting spanner to loosen the lower cap. Use an 8mm socket to unclamp the actuation cord. Once it's loose, unthread the actuation cord. Slide down the lower assembly and remove the actuation pin. Locate the grub screw in the lower assembly. Use a 2mm Allen key to remove it. You can now slide off the lower assembly. Remove the cable attachment slider and pull out the actuation cord. Use a 3mm Allen key to remove the grub screw inside the mid cap. Now slide the upper assembly out of the lower assembly. Remove the small pin at the top of the lower tube. It's time to clean out the lower tube. Use some isopropyl alcohol on your paper towel to make sure it's really clean. Push it through using your long screwdriver. Repeat this process a few times until it's completely clean. Inspect the inside to make sure there's no grit or dirt left behind. Use some more alcohol and paper towel to clean the parts from the lower assembly. Give the stanchion a good wipe, cleaning off all the old grease. Use your side cutter pliers to gently remove the two brass keys. Unclip and remove the lower bushing. Slide off the mid cap and upper bushing. Clean the recess for the lower bushing. Remove the upper bushing from the mid cap. Pull out the old seal from the mid cap. Again, use your alcohol and paper towel to clean out the mid cap. In your service kit you'll find two types of seals. Use the same type of seal that was on your dropper post originally. The easiest way to tell the difference between the two seals is to look for the silver garter ring. The earlier version seals don't have the garter ring. Add some grease to the mid cap and install the new seal. Massage it into place and ensure that it's properly installed all the way around. If you have a latest version seal, start off by sliding the garter ring up the stanchion. Add some grease to the stanchion. Gently slide the mid-cap up the stanchion. Spread the excess grease back onto the lower part of the stanchion. Clip the garter ring into the seal. Make sure it's installed properly all the way around. Clip on the upper bushing and slide it up the stanchion. It's now time to install the brass keys. The orientation of the brass keys is important. Look out for the small indent on the brass keys. This indent must face outwards. Gently push the brass keys into place. Do this on both sides. Tap in the brass keys using a rubber mallet on a soft surface. An old piece of wood or a rubber mat will do. Use your vernier to measure the distance between the two flat faces of the brass keys. This dimension should be in the region of 24 mm. Clip on the lower bushing. Turn it so that it lines up with the brass key closest to the front of the saddle. Slide the upper bushing out of the way and thread the actuation cord through the large hole in the mid-cap. Use your tweezers to grab the end of the cord. Add some grease into the cavity in the mid-cap. Add some grease to the slot in the lower tube and add the small metal pin. Add a generous amount of grease to the inside of the lower tube. It's now time to insert the upper assembly into the lower assembly. Make sure your orientation is correct. Make sure you grab the actuation cord and pull it through. This part can be tricky as the actuation cord can get stuck to the sides of the lower tube. You may need to use your tweezers to pull it through. Pull down gently on the actuation cord while lowering the upper assembly. The orientation of the upper bushing is also important. It must line up with the steel pin and the cavity in the mid-cap. Make sure the actuation cord hasn't been snagged by pulling it up and down a couple of times. If it moves freely, then you're good to go. Move the slider out of the way in the mid-cap and install the grub screw. Place the slider into the slot, but be sure to orientate it correctly. The open side must face outwards. Install the actuation pin into the lower part of the cartridge. Add the two rubber bottom-out bumpers. Install the lower assembly onto the cartridge. Make sure that the orientation of where the pin needs to go through matches the slot in the cartridge. Tighten up the grub screw pin. You don't want to over tighten this pin as it will start to come out the other side of the lower assembly. If it does, make sure to reverse it backwards till it's no longer protruding. You now need to line up the orientation of the lower assembly to the cable entry in the mid-cap. You'll see a small slot where the actuation cord needs to bypass the lower assembly. If the orientation is wrong, the lower assembly will not slide into the lower tube. Loosen up the clamp nut on the lower assembly. Thread the actuation cord through the hole in the clamp bolt. It's now time to clamp down the actuation cord. Once it's clamped, measure the height of the actuation arm. If the tension is correct, it should be in the region of 20.5 to 21.5 millimeters. The easiest way to get this dimension right is to add more tension than necessary. You can then let out small amounts of actuation cord until you've got the right dimension. Add some grease to the thread on the lower tube. Loosely wrap the actuation cord around the lower mechanism. Install the lower cap. Use your shifting spanner to tighten up the lower cap. You'll want to test the dropper post before putting it back in the bike. Use your multi-tool to cycle the dropper a couple of times. Make sure that it returns swiftly and that it holds weight without dropping. Reinstall the dropper post into the frame. Tighten up the seat post clamp. Reattach the cable to the dropper post. Snap the plastic cover plate back into place. Your service is now complete.